And it's like I have 5 different jobs that all
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
different languages and operate in different contexts. And you try and find those areas where you can transfer knowledge from one to the other and kind of give them ideas, because they're so insular in their own space. But
What episode are we up to?
I actually
7?
don't know. It's either 6
I
or
think
7.
this is 7. This is 7.
It's either 6 or 7.
Don't do that, my children. Darja, Jerwin came and
I
stayed at
also
our
have
house.
kids.
Oh my God. The whole time, all they think about is that Jerwin's getting, and he promised them he'd somehow work 6 or 7 into every single episode. And so
There you
now
go.
my twins, who are 11, are obsessed. When I say, oh, we record another episode, they're like, can we see the bit where he does 6, 7?
We
It's
got
getting
it
harder
right
to
out of the
drop,
way.
but we got that done.
All right, let's get going then. Welcome everyone to episode 7 of the Notion in Practice podcast. Today we have Darja Nelson, who is a friend of mine now. We've been working together, what, was it late last year, I think?
Yeah, 4 or 5 months, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's joining us today from Bridgewest Ventures, and she's an operating partner, which she's going to explain to us what that means, because we were just having a conversation before we started about not really knowing what all these titles mean. But
Yeah.
Darja, thank you for coming today. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, Tim. Happy to help how I can. So yeah, Notion, I'm a newbie to the world of Notion, but I'm a full convert. So I'm excited to talk about how we've been using it and what a difference it's made for us. But I'll start with a bit of who I am and where I work and what we do. So I work with Bridgewest Ventures, which is a venture capital firm based in New Zealand. Venture capital firms tend to invest in early stage technology companies right through to late stage technology companies. We're very much at the start. So we look at things that have never had any investment come into them before. And we look at companies that are based on something called deep tech. So there's some sort of scientific innovation or technology that's been created to solve a problem. It's not the traditional kind of SaaS or software type businesses that we tend to look at. We look at longer term, bigger sort of opportunities to invest in. So Bridgewest, Bridgewest has done it before. So we're founded by a couple of brothers, entrepreneurs, who built their very first successful business in the late 90s out of the US and really just put that money straight back into building the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. So there's this generation of operators and executives that have come from running large, small life sciences, technology businesses that keep sort of recycling that experience back into creating new ones. And that's what we're really formed. That's kind of the thesis we're formed on. And that means we're operators, as in we get in elbow deep into the business. That's what an operating partner does at Bridgewest, is we work alongside the teams that we invest in to really kind of accelerate them to that next growth phase. And that can be anything from I'm helping you hire a team, I'm doing business development activities for you, I'm working with you on the commercial strategy, right through to I'm assessing a technical plan. It's really, what does that business need and how do we get it what it needs to make it successful?
That sounds really interesting. Do you get to sort of uncover and discover bits of sort of science and tech that you didn't even know existed before it comes across your plate?
Absolutely. We see about 300 odd pitches a year. So we see a huge variety of things. Some of it is really kind of like futuristic. Wouldn't it be amazing if this is the world that we live in? And some of it's a bit more tame, but solves that like problem that everyone's got and no one's really come up with a way to solve it. So we see a huge variety of things. Of those 300, we tend to maybe dive deep on about 15 to 20 of them. And then at the end of that, there might be 2 or 3 that make it to actually us putting a term sheet, so an offer of investment to that group once it's passed through the due diligence process. Yeah, that's the kind of things we're dealing with on a day-to-day.
Interesting.
And do they all come to you or do you go and find them? How does that bit work?
Both. That's our team here in New Zealand is embedded very much with all of the universities and sort of research institutes where some of this IP and these people with these great ideas tend to come from. And then we also, spend quite a lot of time walking the halls really of all of the different centers of excellence and trying to kind of be seen in the ecosystem, be helpful to the ecosystem so that people can come to us. So it's all about relationships and really kind of building on that.
I mean, one of the things I love about my job is that I get to go and bump into these different worlds that I don't know anything about. And I usually start out, I remember the first time I ever worked with a VC, and there's a whole language and workflows and processes that you just have no idea about. Is that a little bit the same? Like you find yourself trying to support a company that's developing a bit of technology that you don't know much about, and you obviously have a good understanding of the processes and the systems to help scale one of those kinds of businesses, but the specific tech you get to dive deep and learn about?
Yeah, and it's not just the tech. It's either the tech is sort of the first part, but it's actually that market and that industry. There's all
Okay.
of these different nuances in terms of the problems people are trying to solve. So whenever we do due diligence or considering investment in a group, we essentially have to get up to speed to where the founders are, build that
Right.
our own conviction on, hey, we really understand that this is a problem. We go and talk to potential customers. We talk to other experts in the field. We try and really become obsessed with the area that they're trying to disrupt and get conviction that their plan's going to work in that space. It's almost like, for me, I feel like I work with about 5 portfolio companies at the moment, and then I look at new investments alongside that. And it's like I have 5 different jobs that all
Yeah.
Yeah.
speak different languages and operate in different contexts. And you try and find those areas where you can transfer knowledge from one to the other and kind of give them ideas because they're so
Mm.
insular in their own space. Yeah, it's lots of information, lots of different information flowing from one end to the other all the time. Definitely
Yeah.
a job for people that, maybe are mildly ADHD, I don't know, like to
Yeah.
switch from one thing to the next.
Yeah. 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 Nice. Okay. And so what about the journey with Notion then? How did you come across it? And, what was it that kind of led you towards it?
Yeah, it was network again. We had someone in the extended startup network here in New Zealand that had become kind of like a Notion user and then joined the Notion team. And really, it was a few startup events where people were starting to talk about it and then seeing how others were using it that made us sort of think, hey, this could potentially solve the problem that we've got, because we had, annoying and steadily growing issue in terms of our workflow and I guess the technology we were using to help us manage that in this sort of fast pace that I talked about.
Yeah. Okay. So when did I bump into you in that process? Still relatively early, or had you started kind of
We'd
trying on
had a
your
bit
own?
of play, and then we realized this is like overwhelming. All of us are, we are either scientists or engineers by training,
Yeah.
operators in businesses. None of us come
Yeah.
from a software background.
Mhm.
It was pretty easy out of the box, but we knew that we weren't going to get what we needed out of it without like a bit of guidance and a bit of understanding of the potential. So we asked around and see who could help us to
Yeah.
actually really maximize the impact that it could have on our business. So it was pretty early on
Yeah.
that we started chatting with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I find lots of people, they know that if they took the time, they could work it out on their own. They could puzzle it through. And I think if you're in a really early stage thing and maybe you don't have that much demand yet, like lots of people will build their own things using it. But
Mm.
if you're busy and you just need it to solve a problem for you, then getting a hand makes a lot of sense.
Totally. And I mean, even the difference between when we started working together and today, like earlier today, I just built a new database in my private workspace because I wanted to keep
Nice.
private meetings private. And I just asked the
Mhm.
AI to do it. And I didn't touch anything. I just told it, this is what I want. Gave it all of its information and it did it. And that is not something that we would have even tried really when we first
Mm.
started this process. And I know Notion's gone through quite a lot of change to enable these kinds of things now anyway.
Mhm.
So, unless you're spending your like living and breathing it day to day, it's really hard if you're just dropping in as a tourist to really kind of maximize what it can do for you.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
What's
Nice.
been your most helpful Notion feature as you started to use it? Has there been a standout one?
Yeah. Yeah, there has. And it's hands down the AI meeting minutes for us and the
Yeah.
ability to contain that information and call up that information. Like, I'm on calls maybe like 6 or 7 hours a day, and it's a topic change every call. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And that's just a function of, all of the portfolio company work that we do. And so being able to kind of have all of that institutional knowledge like already there and recorded for me has made me
Hmm.
so much more efficient. It means I can sit in the meeting and really concentrate on the conversation and not rushing to capture salient points. It means my follow-up gets more efficient. I deliver on things that I've promised people that I'll deliver on, and then others can pick it up when I'm away and run with it as well. So that's really made a difference to our team, where there's sort of 6 of us and 3 of us are in these really like high volume call type roles, and the other 3 are
Hmm.
more analysts and sort of don't have as much of that on, but are the ones that actually end up doing a lot of the grind in the background. So that communication across team and institutional knowledge across teams been a game changer.
Wow. 6 to 7 hours in meetings every day. How do you do it?
Yeah.
They're not back to back, are they?
Well, let me tell yeah, mostly. I don't know how I do it. I come home and my husband's like, "You want to talk?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I would like to go sit in a dark room for half an hour before I can engage."
Yeah. 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 Were you using like a meeting note taker before, a bot or like
Yeah,
another
we tried
service?
a few of them. We weren't loving any of them, to be honest. Like the summaries that they were giving and the insights that they were able to provide, it just felt like more work for us to try and kind of
Mm.
extract what we needed from them. And I think that was also kind of key with Notion is that even out of the box, the automatic summaries were better than the automatic summaries on the other platforms, but then we
Hmm.
had this ability to interrogate and rewrite it in a really easy way. So it's really felt like an extension of your memory or your capacity to kind of work on a project.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot. And it was absolutely true for me. You would get that one summary in your email usually, and then it was a helpful reminder, but you still had to pick out the pieces and go and do something with it. Like it still required you to do that busy work of saying,
Mm,
"Oh yeah, I said I was going to do that thing," and then you didn't store it anywhere. Like it just stayed in my email for the
Hmm.
longest time
yes.
or on the other platform, whatever it was. And if I wanted to know something about one of my meetings, I knew I could go there and get it. So it's really helpful if I forgot, what I needed and I could go and ask, but it didn't become context to the rest of my, workspace. And like now, if I go into my Bridgewest project and ask it
Mm.
in Notion and ask it anything, it has the history of every conversation we had and all the decisions we made. And that piece, I feel like for a lot of people who are using meeting note takers is still largely untapped.
Missing. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And because it is busy work, as you say. And then when you've got a small team, a dynamic business, everything's kind of done at a very fast pace. So I think in
Hmm.
certain industries, it's really important to have something that can kind of integrate into the pace that you're going at rather than
Yeah.
having to create a whole new workflow to enable it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the winner with Notion is just becomes one of your team members essentially. Yeah.
Are you using the custom agents to do
Mm.
anything automatically after meetings yet? I think our last call was sort of just as custom agents was launching. So there was
Yes.
talk about it, but
Yeah, we
where have you
haven't
got to?
we've started. We haven't got one working perfectly yet. We've
Mm.
even now that we don't have you to like guide us and make us do these things every week, we've put in place some time in everybody's diary every couple of weeks to just sit around the table and do Notion stuff and talk about
Oh,
how we
nice.
want to improve Notion. Yeah. And custom agents is top of the list at the moment. So we've got one of our team members playing on, okay, how can we, we use Notion to look after our pipeline, so incoming
Hmm.
projects and where we're at
Yes.
with how we're looking at them, and then also our portfolio companies. Those are the 2 primary users. What am
Yeah.
I doing with company A, B, and C, and what did I promise them, and what's next?
What's the next steps? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so at the moment, we're writing an agent that's looking at all of our opportunities in our pipeline, looking at any recent meetings that we've had that
Hmm.
we've discussed, and pulling out actions or decisions or summaries that it can put in so that at a glance, I can tell you where that opportunity is at and what our latest thinking on is. And we can then dive deeper into that. So that's our first sort of custom agent off the rank that we've been playing with. But I think, when we think about what's next for Notion, I think it's really maximizing that for ourselves and starting to create these different agents that kind of increase the hygiene and the efficiency of what we're doing to that next level.
Well, you've done the hard work of working out what all your databases are and getting all the properties and importing all the data and, all of that ugly, unavoidable piece. I mean, there's a few sick individuals around who love that and live for those moments. But I think most of us are like, oh my gosh, if I see another duplicate, I'm going to lose my mind. But yeah, I think the payoff is is worth it right now. You can genuinely automate things. And the one we have to try, I'm going to send you the copy of my one that I
Mm.
run. I've just put a little toggle on meetings so that when I'm finished with the meeting note, I just click the checkbox and then the custom agent assesses that meeting and essentially runs sort of a follow-up process.
Yes, please. That sounds
So it
great.
pulls, and the thing I love about it because like you, I will often have back-to-back calls. By the time the day is done, or, usually 5 minutes after the meeting's finished, the things I said I would do are sitting in my task inbox. And I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to remember to go back and look at that meeting and grab those tasks. And the project that I was worked on has had its sort of current state little summary that sits at the top of the project that anyone on the team can look at. That's there, just
Mm.
waiting,
Mm-hmm.
already updated. And those pieces, this is something I didn't expect, but one of the big advantages is the AI always does the thing that you've told it to do. Like 100% of the time, it'll do that meeting follow up. And
Mm.
as a human, I never did anything 100% of the time. Even if I had a great day, I would only get 9 out of 10, but it just always reliably. And so then I have this real confidence that anything I said I'm going to do, it's going to be in my list and
Yeah.
staring at me and I won't forget.
Absolutely. I think it also makes, it kind of turns you into a type A person or enables you to be a type A person, even if you're not, right? And I think we've already seen the impact of that, being able to move things more quickly, being able to come to decisions more quickly. People have a lot more power in their hands. They're not having to wait for somebody else to get them something. They can get the information that they need for whatever purpose they need it for. It is that efficiency gain that you get across the team is significant. It's like
Mm,
it factors into how you think about what kind of people you need to hire, how you need to grow out the team, how you look at new investments and new processes within your own business. So it really does
mm,
change you at an organizational level. I think if you can adopt AI in that way into your workflow.
mm. I want to ask about that hiring piece because
Mm.
everybody's thinking about jobs. Like, you haven't hired anyone since you've done this yet?
No, no, we haven't.
But
We
what do
do
you think will
generally.
be different from what you had before? Like, on the job description or on the sort of key attributes that someone needs. Has that changed now?
I think so. I think not specifically Notion, but kind of AI in the
Mm,
workplace, and Notion is an extension of that. You know, with our analysts, we used to look, or interns, we used to look for a specific set of skills, and that's an ability to sort of research and digest and present data in a certain way.
Mm,
I think the essential skills have now changed for an intern. We want
mm,
somebody who knows how to efficiently use all of the new tools that are available and
mhm,
can understand what the crux of the matter is more so than how good they are at analysis, like traditional
mhm.
analysis, because that's essentially you can outsource a lot of that grind now to the
Yeah,
computers, right? So
yeah.
it's definitely changed the profile of new hires that we bring into the organization at that intern and analyst level. It's more around, what is your thinking process like? How can you critically analyze, or how can you spot whether something feels wrong or right, and how can we
Mhm.
build on that rather than, show me your traditional kind of like McKinsey style or
Yeah, yeah,
big
yeah.
consultancy firm style approach to how you how you do this. So I
Mm,
think that's where the biggest change for hirings come. We're not a big enough team to have like support staff really.
yeah.
But I think it's definitely like reduced that operational burden for us to a point where like we're not feeling that burden as much anymore. So if we were hiring
It's good.
support staff, that would, I think that'd be another area where we would probably have fewer needs or slightly different needs in terms of the people we were looking for.
Yeah. Hiring a support staff now, I think we'll still hire them, but we'll hire people who can essentially be 5 times as productive because they
Exactly.
leverage these tools. And so you get five for the price of one, and their job is almost managing the tools that are doing the work that previously a support person used to do. The
100%.
other thread I wanted to pick up on was I'm sort of scratching around for the right word, but wisdom seems like the right one. We want instead of just doing the analysis now, it's about like you said, you kind of the model of the way that you think about it, how the decisions you make, your insights about the analysis, which is tricky to have when you're a grad and you've just popped out of university. But it's almost like that's the thing that we need is like how wise are you to deal with all of this intelligence that sits underneath you, that's being handed up. It feels like a very different set of skills than from the old ones.
Definitely. And I think it's hard to screen for that because I think our tools and the way that we've approached hiring in the past is so different. I think for us at that early grad stage, obviously they're not going to have the wisdom to know on day one, what the right pathway is, but it's more about that capability and that flexibility and the right mindset. So
Mm.
if they understand the tools, understand the shortfalls of the tools, understand how to operate within that environment to cancel out some of those shortfalls, their training with us becomes about, hey, as a VC, what questions do you ask and what things
Yeah.
are important? And, we build that kind of wisdom framework for our specific
Yeah.
area, but there's a base set of skills there that enables them to natively operate in this new environment and take advantage of it to displace, traditional model building or traditional report writing or traditional presentation writing, which is how you look at interns previously or analysts previously.
Yeah. I could talk about this bit forever, but I do
Mm.
want to ask you about implementing Notion. What are the hard bits? What are the bits that are clunky and still don't feel like they're landing and where it hasn't, delivered?
We did actually, just thinking back to a previous question, we did hire someone new since implementing Notion,
Oh, yeah.
and
All right.
it's been interesting having her join in on Notion. The rest of us were all right there from the start, and now we're seeing this experience of someone naively coming into this environment that we
Mm.
built. And I
Mhm.
think that's pointed out like some areas of weakness for us, right? In terms of what is our Bridgewest user guide for Notion? Like, how do we
Mhm.
think about the logic of how these things are structured within our environment so that we can use them to their maximum kind of impact? So I think
Mhm.
that's been quite difficult and compounded by the fact that none of us really had the time to
Yeah.
spend doing that, right? And so that's an area I think as you have a growing team or a large team where there's quite a lot of turnover, that probably becomes a lot more important
Yeah.
Yeah.
than we've kind of given it credence in our team and our ecosystem.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah. I've just finished a job with a company that's got hundreds of people in it. And a big part of landing it in the end was how do we make it accessible to someone who's coming in for the first time?
Mm,
And a help file is just not quite good enough.
mm-mm,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a mix of trying to help them understand the sort of principles and ideas behind the operating system that you've built
mm,
so that when they come across something, they sort of intuit what the right path to take is, but it is quite
exactly.
different. Yeah. I do feel like more than with other tools, you're building a way of working and you're building it sort of into the tool and people have to get it, get the way of working, get what it means to, be a Bridgewest person to know how to use your way of doing it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
tip would be use the AI in Notion to try and write that stuff. Like ask it to write itself a prompt to put together the operating system for someone new to use it. It's very meta, meta, but it's pretty good at it. I do it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it understands how it works and it understands how to use Notion and it's an LLM that has all these ideas about what a user guide should look like and how to help people onboard. And I think it does 80% of the grunt work.
Thinking about it now, especially, I don't know whether you ever put all your minutes and recordings from our sessions as we were building it into our system, but if
Yeah.
that data's there, it could easily go and interrogate like the thinking that we were doing at that time and,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
create something off the back of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all in there. All the
Good.
strange rabbit holes we went down trying to work out how to build it the right way.
I
Yeah.
got a
Nice.
question. Actually,
Mm,
how do you deal with? Because you mentioned you're in many meetings and a lot of different types of people you're speaking with. How do you deal with
mm-hmm,
the information overload as you speak with like multiple companies across different sectors and different ecosystems? Um,
mm.
daily? Like, how do you
Yeah.
how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to new opportunities, we as a team will kind of always, we talk multiple times a week across the pipeline, and people have the ability to kind of pick up areas that they're really interested in, and
Mhm.
really speak to them. So I might tend to favor certain industries or certain types of companies because there's a lot of similarities to other areas that I'm already working on. So you kind of tend to compartmentalize a little bit like that. I'm working with my plastics companies at the moment that are trying to replace, plastic with biodegradable or
Oh,
compostable
wow.
plastic, and they're in different industries, but lots of the same problems. Or
Mhm.
I'm working with my diagnostics companies at the moment that have got some amazing new science that's going to sort of change how early we can detect things like cancer and Alzheimer's
Mm.
disease, or how early we can create therapies to target them. And they'll have very similar challenges, strategic partners, customers, value inflection points, all of those kinds of things that
Yeah.
are important when you're trying to think about how you progress a business or grow a business in a certain field.
Mm.
Mm.
But
One
I
thing
think,
I think, oh,
sorry.
sorry, go. No, no,
I
no,
was
go.
just gonna say that's also an area where Notion's kind of enabled us to be like even more strategic, right? Because
Right.
I can now say, hey, looking at all of my diagnostics companies, can you
Mhm.
write me a little piece around some of the challenges that we're seeing with reaching customers in this market? And it can kind of pick
Mm.
up different things from different companies across a time period and
Mhm.
bring it together, right, into an area where I can then look at, okay, how do we use that in our marketing as a VC firm? How do we use it when we're
Yes.
advising a customer to sort of say, or a customer or a portfolio company to say, hey, these are problems that we're seeing across the ecosystem. This is how others have dealt with it. So it enables you to kind of pool this knowledge that we just don't have the time to do that kind of thing
Yeah.
on the day to
Yeah.
day. Yeah, there is, aside from an efficiency piece, there's actually also an acceleration or a value creation piece in there that it's
Mm.
unlocked
Mhm.
for us.
I was going to raise, I remember a key sort of need was around reporting and
Mm,
about, collect all this information and we're doing the work and we're having the meetings and we're pushing these things forward. And then a time comes at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter or whatever where you need to do some reporting. Uh, how's that process gone? Because I think by now you would have sort of several months through, and the idea was that we might be able to write some prompts to help collect the relevant pieces, prioritize what matters, and then get us a bunch of the way there.
yeah, absolutely. And one of our team members has been very much owning that piece. And he's gone through 3 or 4 rounds now of reporting where he's built on a prompt over those 3 or 4
Yeah,
rounds and has been able to use the output of the previous month as a template for the future. So it's really enabled us to be really fast now. I
that's
think
good.
it's definitely meant that we can almost save that time that we used to put into end of the month or end of the quarter reporting, and use it in a different way. And it's the more we've used it, the better it's got. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I see lots of sort of opportunity there to reclaim time. I did have a conversation with someone yesterday who is a guy who, he works in finance, and he's probably been doing it for 30 years. And he
Mm,
said, "Oh, I like the AI and I copy things and I paste it into the AI." He said, "But I wouldn't want to lose the process where I get a chance to look over the source material. I wouldn't, because we were talking about how much could we automate this. He gets all this stuff in
mm,
his inbox, and at the moment he's copying and pasting it. He said, but it's an hour of my day where I actually go deep looking at the source data. If we automated the AI collecting that source data for me and then producing, the thing ultimately that he does use a prompt to produce, he would be really missing something. And
mm.
so the part of what I'm sort of fascinated about helping us all think about is which bits of human, workflow and process do we not want to lose while we're automating these things? I don't think putting together reports is one of them, but it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even with that process where we've kind of automated a lot of the like grunt work of pulling it all together, there's still multiple conversations that happen, and there's still multiple reviews that happen, and it prompts a conversation around the portfolio company that
Mm,
either leads us to improve the information in the system, or it leads us to, make a different decision. So I think there are bits of it, like you can't just leave it alone, do its thing without your involvement, because that, like me losing that touch point with that monthly reporting is also going to be make my job more difficult on a day-to-day. So it's about augmenting rather than replacing, or at least how we're viewing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important because I think the perception for a lot of people is we just automate it and then, the report will get sent off to the board without us even looking at it. That's not how it
No,
works.
definitely not. And people can
Cool.
tell, it's interesting. It's very easy to tell when an email has been written by an AI now, I think. And there's just a feeling about it, right?
Mm,
And then you
mm,
get to a section where you're like, well, I almost never use what Notion natively produces for me as an email that I send out to someone. I use it to gather all of the facts, but I still do that sort of human element because I think very difficult to interact in a meaningful way. If you're outsourcing all of that thinking to the
yeah.
computer, it means the other person won't read it, they won't take it on, and you're not going to
hmm
have that quality of interaction.
Yeah. 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 That's so true.
So,
So what's
oh,
next? What are the big things on the horizon for, your,
Yeah.
what did you say? Fortnightly Notion sessions?
Yeah, agents is a big one.
mhm.
Also looking at integration with email. We've just sort of started around that
Oh, wow.
process. And
Nice.
yeah, how do we get it to talk a little bit more to the rest of our systems and access that knowledge
Mm.
that exists outside of Notion at the moment?
Because you guys at Microsoft House, right?
Yeah, we
It's
are.
all, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
Notion. We need you to roll
Speed
out.
it up a bit. Yeah.
Well, because what we really need is if you could put an Outlook account in Notion Mail
That'd
and
be so
Notion Calendar,
helpful.
as soon as
Yeah.
you could do that, because
Yeah.
that does it with Gmail, and I literally say, to the agent, what's in my inbox, and it
Yeah.
says you've got 10 emails. This one's sitting there from
hmm
2 weeks ago. Come on, mate,
Yeah.
you got to reply to it.
Yeah, we've just connected it to Outlook via the beta sort of connector, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not great. Like at the moment,
yeah,
there's signs of life there, but it's not good enough for us to use yet. I think that calendar integration piece, that email integration piece, it's going to be another level of efficiency for us, right?
mm,
You're not
mm,
going to have to go into Notion and start a meeting and make sure your metadata is manually sort of filled out, or you've got
yeah,
the agent filling it out. It's all going to be pulled from the system and the
yeah,
quality of it is going to increase. So really looking forward to that piece. And I think that's going to also enable us to kind of up our game in terms of dashboards and reporting and how we communicate what's like coming of our due diligence processes and out of our portfolio management processes.
yeah. Nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I know when I first discovered the world of VC, I had just had no idea what it was. And it was fascinating to me because you get to explore so many interesting
hmm
projects and worlds. And as I've gone on, I've realized there's all kinds of different VCs as well who are at different stages of the process and whatever. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that and the Notion journey. Any parting words for people who are sort of setting out trying to do this for themselves?
Yeah, I think it's just about time and really kind of committing to like that this being like a meaningful thing. It's not something you can just pick up once every couple of weeks and then,
Weeks.
even like if I'm not using it daily, I feel like I'm behind in terms of, how I'm using that system. So it's really
hmm
about that curiosity and having, watching as many videos and listening to as many podcasts and getting as much help from super users to kind of grow and feed that curiosity, because the more comfortable you get in the system, the more you're going to get out of it. And you don't have to be a software engineer or someone with a computer background to really benefit from it.
Yeah. Great. Cool. Well, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you
Really
so
appreciate your
much.
No,
time.
happy to help. Yeah, thanks for the chat. It's been really interesting. Can talk about it all day.
Yeah. Nice one. All right. Great chat. Daria, she's
Fantastic.
excellent.
She is. Very busy person. 6 to 7 hours, Tim. 6 to 7 hours.
That is a lot. That is a
Yeah.
lot of meetings, but such an interesting job, like to be hopping between, frontier kind of technology.
hmm
Very cool.
I can see why you can do that for that long is because she's probably engaging with the most interesting, revolutionary technologies in these meetings. And so it's sort of like best seats in the
Yeah.
house for innovation, I'd say.
Yeah. Although she's still dealing with humans, right? Still be the same problems.
Yeah, exactly. So what are your key takeaways? What's your first one?
There's a few. I think maybe one that, is not so sexy, but is really useful was how their team have taken ownership of the system that they've built. So
Oh,
obviously we
yes.
worked together to kind of roll it out initially,
hmm
but I feel like we're in a time where systems, operational systems, tech systems used to kind of, oh yeah, we're going to do the project to do that thing. We roll it out and then you sort of forget about it, right? It's in
Yeah.
place and it just gets used and you don't have to touch it for 10 years. You rolled out a new CRM, that's it. But
Yeah.
it doesn't really work like that anymore. Like the tech is changing so fast. Everything is moving kind of
Rapid,
constantly. You
very
really have
fast.
to
Yeah.
own it. Would she say every fortnight?
I think so. Yeah. Every fortnight or every couple of weeks, they
Yeah.
sit down and have a Notion specific session to talk what they're building
Yeah.
next. And I know obviously custom agents is their
Building
way of
custom
thinking.
agents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's good because, like in big orgs, they have, a bunch of that stuff sort of built in because they're big and
Hmm.
they have to, governance and whatever. But smaller orgs would often not do that. It wouldn't kind of rise to the top. So the fact they're prioritizing it and they're giving it that governance and kind of ongoing accountability and development, I think is good. And it sort of speaks into the, she raised about, oh, we put a new person on.
Oh, yeah. The new hire.
And yeah, and they didn't sort of get it straight away. And so
Hmm.
it means that the team will own the system and think about, okay, well, how are we going to provide guidance and onboarding for new people? It's
Hmm.
not just IT's problem or Ops's problem. So yeah, I thought that was good, really useful. And if people aren't doing that, they should.
Yeah. Like it sort of helps. Well, if you're listening to the person the new hire, welcome. It'll be such a weird experience for you to be listening to us talk about you as you go
Talk
through
about
us. So
you.
if we say this in the wrong context, let us know. But yeah, it's sort of the understanding everything in one place. I know onboarding can be a very stressful experience for new hires, and to come in and make an immediate impact and be able to measure that is quite useful as well. So yeah, it
Mm,
is an angle
mm.
that you don't really think about. I think the other
We should
thing
have someone on
is,
one time to talk about onboarding because I've seen
yeah.
some places do it super well and use Notion really effectively. It'd be
I mean,
interesting.
Tim, you're onboarding someone right now, aren't you? So
I'm onboarding a few, but I don't know if I'm doing a great job yet. So let's not ask
hey,
me.
we could go with that aspect, right? I mean, a smooth ops will have you as a guest with your
I think
new
everyone's
hire.
hearing enough from me. What's your next takeaway?
I think the opportunity for reporting. Like she is a very busy person who has five very different organizations she's dealing with that have, as she said it herself, like different needs, different sort of problems that they're trying to solve, and then to be able to contextualize all that together and sort of find trends or ways that she can also use that in her conversations with people going through similar problems or similar issues.
Mm,
But I can imagine that would save her a lot of time, right, Tim?
yeah. Yeah. And I remember when we were doing the work together, they have some strong reporting requirements up to, I don't know, a group that they report to. And
Hmm.
at that time when we were doing it, it was basically someone's job,
Yeah.
like gets towards the end of the month and they spend a week pulling all of this information together from different documents and meeting notes and, all of these other places. But
Hmm.
because now they've built that world all in Notion, they've got all that information in the one place. And
The whole
because
context of,
they can develop a prompt or
yeah.
probably a series of prompts, I would imagine, to pull that information together, it was one of the big hopes when they were building. So it was good to hear that it happened. But I really liked that she said, oh, we're up to the sort of fourth or fifth like iteration on it. It's
That's good.
these prompts, you don't write them once, you never one
Hmm.
shot it. It just,
Hmm.
it keeps improving over time. And I saw this week actually, Notion have released skills in the AI section of the
Notion
workspace
skills.
in
What
the
skills?
settings, Notion skills. So what we've been calling playbooks, because there wasn't a name for them, Notion have called skills. And so if
Hmm.
you, have a look in the Notion AI settings, there's a section there where you can essentially just point Notion at a page. So like the playbooks pages that we've
Hmm.
already got. And then you can identify that this is a skill. And then the AI, like little owl
Take the skill.
helper in the corner there, he'll treat that as special. So that's really cool. I think it'll evolve. It's like it's brand new. They just kind of snuck it out, didn't tell anyone. But yeah, I'm going to be playing with that a lot. So that's cool. But yeah, these guys, different kinds of reporting skills that people on the team can just pick up and use. It's obviously a huge lift. What else? And speaking of skills, fascinating that she was like, we're going to think differently about hiring.
Hmm. Hmm.
That whole, everyone's worried about jobs and talking about jobs, etc. But knowing that you're going to need to develop these other skills. I wonder if unis are, and kind of people helping think about getting work roles are moving fast enough. But she needs people who are, want to work in that world to be native with these tools. And she needs them to, it's more important now that they have good decision making, that they're wise in their thinking about all of the information that the AI is giving them, rather than going and getting and, you know, formatting and summarizing and preparing the knowledge. The
Mm-hmm.
knowledge is almost free now, but
Yeah.
the wisdom to use it well is not. And that's the kind of key skill they're looking for. I thought that was insightful.
It's very insightful also because I was at a conference yesterday and it was a big UTS startups conference all about talking through what is the future of work, what does entrepreneurship look like, and what are the
Right.
skills needed in the workplace. And a lot of questions I got from students, high school students and uni students was like, hey, like, how heavily are you using AI, and what should I be upskilling up myself in my studies to make sure I'm better prepared for work? Because one of the speakers asked everyone to put their hands up. There were thousands of kids in the audience. It's like, who's worried about your future job being replaced by AI? And I'd say 99% of the audience put their hand up. And so it's good to hear it from her lens on the hiring perspective, because I think everyone's super worried that eventually AI can take a lot of jobs, but I think it's at a spot where we can be humanly augmented for jobs with AI skills. So to integrate that into academia, I think academia is starting to really think about that now.
Yeah. I feel like the starting place for anyone, whether you're a school kid or, you're already 30 years into your career, is just curiosity.
Yeah.
It's just playing with it. The amount of times I'm working with an org and they say, oh, we want to implement this AI stuff. And before you know it, 3 or 4 weeks have gone past. They've had the tools at their disposal and they haven't tried it.
Mm-hmm.
You jump back on the next call. I'm like, how did it go? Did you set up your instructions? Did you try? Oh, I haven't got there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the anxiety needs to result in action. People just need to play with it, try it out, stop using Google and start using, AI search instead, and see what happens. Kind of fall down the rabbit hole. I don't
Go
think
through
it's
that
enough, but it's certainly the
experimentation
start.
process. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the best
Anyway.
part, is that innovation piece, right? She's an innovator herself. It's being able to experiment, be fast to adapt, and put your skill sets into adapting to the new technologies. And obviously, she and the team are exposed to new tech. Like, we heard some of the cool stuff that she
Yeah,
heard, and
really
it's
cool.
like very groundbreaking. Some of it's like very like next good for the evolution of humankind, I'd say.
Yeah, true. I couldn't get away without another mention of meeting notes, everyone.
So if you're not using meeting notes, I highly recommend
What are you
it.
doing? Yeah. It is like, I just started working with a new org this week and, they've got the meeting note taker, but it gets sent around an email and that's it. And I think that's a lot of people's experience of meeting notes before they have a spot where they all live and then they become useful. And I think the Notion AI meeting notes tool itself is great, but the fact that they're sitting there in the workspace, they're instant context, you don't have to go to your email to find them. And with a custom agent, you can make it load up your email, or load up your task list, or update your project or whatever. That stuff makes it really useful rather than just being another email that you get.
Exactly. And sending it to the person that's responsible for that task and that meeting, and having to that follow up for you. It's been useful in the context of this podcast, Tim. Every time I need to upload or do something, follow up with a guest, or like send them clips or do the social stuff, I always get an email from the custom agent to make sure I'm getting on that. So thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's you sending it sometimes, or if it's your custom agent, but
it's all my little robots.
Yeah,
that's good.
Your army of robots.
Well, I think that's a wrap, mate.
That is a wrap. Do you have any resources you want to share with the audience?
True. I did write something this week.
What did you write?
I wrote an article that is about why your Notion workspace design matters for AI. I obviously spend a lot of my time doing that. And I went really kind of deep down the rabbit hole about how that actually works. So it is a little bit nerdy. It's a little bit about what's really happening underneath the hood and why you should build it in a particular way.
Yeah.
So there's things about how the AI actually develops the context, how it works out, what's relevant when I'm talking to, this person about it.
Yes.
Stuff around the difference between the AI just searching across the workspace versus having a structure to navigate through. So Notion's relational databases give it a pathway to follow, whereas otherwise it just uses the semantic search. Stuff about the connected tools. So, that you can add in things like Outlook and, Google Calendar, or there's a whole bunch of Notion AI connectors.
Mm.
And I sort of did a deep dive about how does that really work? And, when you've got your SharePoint connected, like what's that experience going to be like? What's it really doing? Because some people's SharePoints are an ocean of 20 years of information. So what
Yes.
sort of results can you really expect from that?
Yes.
Yeah. And then some strategies about, okay, given, the restraint or the constraints that we found and the challenges with building in a way that to get the most out of AI, what strategies should you take? What are some ways of getting around those challenges? Anyway, we'll post a link, but hopefully that's useful, and would love feedback and comments and further questions because it's a rabbit hole I want to keep going down.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to want to go down that rabbit hole because I don't think I've seen that covered into that level of depth. And how much is that going to cost him?
$0.
Zero?
Zero.
All right, guys, you probably have to get on that because I'm pretty sure he's going to start putting a bit of a payroll behind that because that is a lot of value.
Going to make me.
Yeah, that is a lot of value.
Good. It should be free. I hope it's useful.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on whatever platform you're listening on. And any questions, call outs, just DM me or Tim on LinkedIn anytime. We love feedback. Actually, we should start highlighting some of the DMs we get, Tim. I think that would be a very interesting part to start off with.
A whole new segment.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
See
everyone.
you later.
Have a good day, night. Take care.